If you could describe your classroom this week like the weather, what would it look like? When I posed this question to a bunch of teachers, I got responses ranging from, it's just a little wind and rain, to it was the perfect storm. From low pressure buildup to cloudy with 100% chance of crazy. And so many teachers referenced tornadoes. So many tornadoes. And here's the part that really got my attention. Many of them weren't just saying that this week feels hard. They were saying it's every week. It's been like this since October. One fourth grade teacher mentioned that it's not been good and it's not getting better. Now, some teachers definitely said they saw some sunny skies, but it was like a couple out of about 50 responses. I scrolled through comment after comment of teachers just tired, exhausted of the constant battles of behavior and everything else that comes with this profession that we love. And if that's you right now, I totally get it. It's hard, especially when you truly love teaching. You love the work that you do. That makes managing behavior and dealing with that daily teacher drain all the more exhausting and even heartbreaking. Because when a classroom feels like a storm that never settles, you're not just teaching, you're bracing for impact all day long. You're constantly redirecting, constantly reminding, constantly putting out fires. And that is no way to live, let alone teach. And by the time you get home, maybe you're wondering, why does this keep happening? Why does it feel like you fix something for one moment and then the chaos comes right back? Well, today I want to talk about why that happens and, more importantly, what you can actually do about it. Hey friends, welcome to Enjoy Teaching Again, the podcast for teachers who love the work but need a little spark to bring the joy back. I'm your host, Elizabeth Peterson, classroom teacher, arts integration specialist, and passionate educator of over 25 years. If you're overwhelmed by behaviors, disengaged students, and long, exhausting days, you are not alone. But together, we can turn things around and you can teach with confidence and purpose again. So locate that cold coffee of yours, find your favorite pen, I know you have one, and let's dive in. It's time to get inspired and enjoy teaching again. You know, there was a season in my teaching career when I was exhausted, and I mean bone tired. I was repeating myself all day long, managing and correcting behaviors instead of teaching, and just trying to squeeze creativity into a curriculum that not only felt scripted and stiff, but some of it actually was scripted. And I kept thinking, is this just how teaching is nowadays? At that point, I had just about, 20 years in the classroom, and I knew that I did not want to become the teacher who just went into work and survived until June. So I had to make a decision, and I decided to stop waiting for things to just magically change. And I decided to put into practice what I had been teaching so many other teachers in workshops and courses and retreats for so many years, and figure out a way to bring some of that creativity and that joy that we would have in those workshops, bring that back to my teaching, because I knew that I was going to be the only one who would be able to do that for myself. And that is when I decided to build a reset. And that reset changed everything. Slowly, I started to figure out what were the most important parts that needed to be reset inside my classroom. And every time I started a new reset in my room, my kids were becoming calmer. I was feeling confident again, and teaching felt creative again. I was actually smiling while I was teaching more and more. And that's why I've now poured everything that I've learned and everything that I put together for myself into the classroom reset. Now, if you're wondering whether it's possible to feel excited, yes, I said excited about teaching again, I am telling you, It is. I want you to come and check out the Classroom Reset at theinspiredclassroom.com/reset, RESET, and see if this is your moment to reset your classroom too. When classrooms feel chaotic for weeks or even months, teachers usually assume that it's because there's something outside of their control. We start thinking, it's this group of kids, it's this time of year, it's because of testing season. Maybe it's the parents, or it's that I don't have the support that I need from my administration. It's just the personalities in the class. And yes, sometimes those things do make the job harder. I get that. But after working with hundreds of teachers, I've noticed something really, really important. While you can't control those things that I just listed, there are certain things that you can control inside your classroom. When behavior keeps regenerating, when that feeling of chaos just keeps coming back, there is some hope because you have some influence. You actually have a lot of influence inside your classroom to dig deep into what's going on inside your classroom. And when behavior is a major issue, it's usually because the classroom doesn't have a stable culture anchor. Now, I'm not talking about a rule list or not talking about a behavior chart, not a classroom contract. I'm talking about culture. It's that intangible thing that clearly defines, who you are as a class, how you treat each other, what it feels like to belong in the classroom. And without that culture anchor, behavior doesn't just happen, once. It just keeps regenerating itself. And when things start to feel chaotic, often teachers do what we've been trained to do. We try to tighten up control, right? So we may try things like more reminders. And sometimes those reminders are, shouted from across the room. Maybe we use clip charts or behavior charts or taking away recess or giving lectures or calling or emailing home or starting a brand new behavior system. But here's the problem with those approaches. They don't actually build classroom culture. They actually just suppress some of the symptoms. They might quiet things down for a moment, a day, or even a few days, but they don't create the emotional structure that kids need to regulate themselves. And let's face it, we need to help the students of today to regulate themselves in the classroom. And when we don't do that, when we aren't able to help our students to regulate themselves, teachers end up feeling like they're stuck in this cycle of calm chaos, calm chaos, calm chaos. And here's the thing I want you to really consider. Those things, those consequences, like the emailing home, the issuing maybe a minor infraction, using a behavior chart, those things will actually become more effective when you first establish a caring classroom culture. Now, I really want to give you something tactical that you can use in your classroom for when your classroom feels like it's stuck in this storm mode. So here's my 5-step micro reset, something that helps the class pause, reconnect, and reestablish expectations together. So the first thing is to reestablish your expectations, but do it with clarity. So instead of correcting behavior all day long, pause and bring everyone together. Have a short class meeting, maybe a morning meeting, maybe a reflection time, or even journaling, and that can lead into a discussion. Personally, I like doing a quick stand-up meeting where I gather the kids at the rug and we just stand and chat for about 2 minutes. Now for you, it might be 5 minutes or even 20 minutes if that's needed. But the goal here is clarity, clear expectations. I use this time to remind them of what the expectations are inside the school and inside our classroom. Generally, I don't ask for too much of their input because for my classroom, I know my students understand the expectations. They just need a moment to pause and remember them. But you may take a different approach. You might want to have a conversation. You might want to ask them for their input. You may want to ask them questions like, What kind of classroom do we want? What is going to help us learn? What makes this room feel calm and safe? And if you haven't had those conversations with your class, those are really important things to actually ask your students and get their input. It may be helpful to write down some of the expectations on the board or even make a word list of things that you're striving for as a class, like calm, listening, cooperation. And if you do have a class set of rules or expectations posted in your classroom, this is the perfect time to point that out and remind them that this is what is expected in your classroom. The second thing is to build a short-term incentive. Kids often need something to aim for. So a simple goal for the day or for the week, if you want to expand it into the week, maybe the class earns stars for teamwork or good behavior or just, doing really well in the class. That's usually what I do. I'll have my class start earning stars. Maybe they work towards a small shared reward. This doesn't have to be something elaborate. The purpose is just to create a little momentum. The third thing to think about is how to build in some time for a shared experience. Your classroom culture is going to grow through shared moments. Build one quick experience that really just helps the class feel connected again. And it doesn't have to happen, immediately after you've had your little meeting. It can be a little later in the day, but think about something that you can do with your students that will help them feel connected again. Maybe it's a quick classroom challenge. Maybe it's even like a show and tell that you do after lunch. Maybe it's a 5-minute creative drawing prompt that they can then share with one another. Maybe you have a teamwork building game that you have. These moments just remind students that yes, we are a team, we are a community, we can actually be nice to each other. It just gives them that positive experience with one another. Now, the fourth step is really simple, but it's powerful. And that is reinforcing that identity language for your students. Start using phrases like, we are the kind of class who helps each other. We are the kind of class who listens when someone shares. We are the kind of class who can actually reset when things get off track. This is another great moment to bring in your classroom contract or your mission if you have one, reminding your students who they wanted to be inside the classroom when you first created that. And what's going to happen as you use this type of identity language is kids are going to be able to internalize that identity of the group and start living up to it, because identity can shape behavior. Finally, I want you to reflect with your students. And we all know it can be easy to skip the final reflection time, but you can do this so quickly at the end of the day or the end of the week, and it's just going to help tie things together really nicely. So ask your students questions like, what felt different today or this week? What kind of things helped our classroom feel calmer? And what are some things that we should keep on doing? What this simple reflection can do is just really help that reset stick, help your students to understand that their actions, their behaviors, their intentionality in what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, on a moment-to-moment basis, can really affect the overall culture of the classroom. And that benefits everybody. This short 5-step micro reset can absolutely help shift the energy in your classroom, but it's still just a small reset. It's actually the type of reset that I use in my own classroom. I honestly just used it last week and it works, and it's longer lasting because I've also done the deeper work that I teach inside my reset framework. See, what many teachers actually need is something deeper. A way to stabilize the classroom culture so the tornado season stops repeating. So certain behaviors don't keep coming back every few weeks, and that the calm will actually really start to last for longer and longer periods of time. Of course, you're always going to have outliers, and of course, you're always going to have setbacks, but there is so much in your classroom that you can influence, and that's what we can focus on to actually give our classroom a wonderful, full reset. Not a program, not more work to do, certainly not a new initiative, a reset, a framework for stabilizing classroom culture so that tornado season, it stops repeating. And instead of constantly reacting to the behaviors, reacting to the chaos that can kind of come to the surface, you proactively create a classroom where calm and connection and creative engagement become the norm. Doesn't that sound amazing? If that's the type of thing you're looking for, go check out the Classroom Reset, my online course that helps improve behavior, increase engagement, and support social emotional skills in just 6 weeks. You can check out all the information at theinspiredclassroom.com/reset. I don't want you to live through tornado season after tornado season. So let's start shifting the atmosphere. I hope this episode inspired you, encouraged you, or gave you a fresh idea to try. And if so, I would love for you to take a screenshot and text it to one of your teaching buddies. I'm so grateful that you landed here with me today, and it would mean the world to me if you would leave me a review over on Apple Podcast. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll catch you on the next episode. This is Elizabeth Peterson reminding you to get inspired so you can be inspiring to your students and enjoy teaching again.